Right. A lot of people joining cults are intelligent people who are logically looking for specific connections. And if you've been walking around looking for something that might help your sore skin and nothing else has, and then the first time you do this thing, it cures, well, then you're going to go, well, it must have been, 'cause nothing else worked.
Exactly. And he would use this example of like, oh, look, everybody, I fucking cured Melanie.
Right.
I'm magic.
That's so fucked up presents. That's so fucked up presents. That's so fucked up presents. That's so fucked up presents.
Sometimes when I'm getting dressed, I'll accidentally put on my shirt and or socks before I put on my underwear. And then I'm like, this is really fucked. Like, you got to put some pants on immediately, Ashley. You're not Winnie the Pooh. You're not Donald Duck. This doesn't feel good. And it's always a mistake that I have to correct really quickly.
Well, and it's interesting because Donald Duck will put a towel around his waist getting out of the shower for modesty. And then what? He's just like, but when I'm dressed for the day, it's cool if it all hangs out below the waist.
He's like, hang loose, buddies. Yeah, I don't know what that is.
My feathers are fluffed up. It hides everything. I don't know.
Hey, you guys. Like, what? Welcome to jumping into the middle of one of our conversations. How did we even get into that? Oh, it's because I give Fallon an obligatory crotch shot every time we record. My monitor, where I adjust how loud I am and how loud Fallon is always behind my laptop. So when I go to adjust it, I put my laptop down and my laptop camera sits on my laptop, and it's a separate one. Like, people are like, duh. But it's a different one. Anyways, every time I go to adjust my volumes, Fallon gets a little crotch shot, and she was like, oh, well, at least you have pants on today. And I was like, girl, I've never not had pants on. That'd be weird as hell.
And here we are.
And then you said, well, once you had panties on and no pants. And I said, okay, well, that's different. I mean, that's whatever. I would never just be sitting here like in a t-shirt and no bottoms at all. Joseph D'Angelo, the Golden State Killer, was known for just Donald ducking in people's fucking doorways like the biggest freak ever. Yeah.
Was that the one that you happened to be on a documentary series for?
Fallon, you know what? Thank you for mentioning that. I honestly didn't even think about that. I am in a documentary about that. You guys, it's on Tubi, which is for free on your TV. It's called Evil Among Us, the Golden State Killer. It was from 2023. I was one of the experts. I feel ridiculous saying that. I was just one of the people that talked about stuff because I had covered the case. Anywho, what? Welcome back to the show, you guys. What the fuck? This is That's So Fucked Up, a podcast about cults, crime, and other things that make you say,
ugh, that's so fucked up.
That's so fucked up. And we're your hosts. I'm Ashley Love Richards.
And I'm Fallon Morey.
And, oh, fuck, this is That's So Fucked Up Presents, actually. But you guys, you clicked on it. It's, That's So Fucked Up Presents is a spinoff of That's So Fucked Up. And on Presents, every month, we talk about just whatever we want, and we just really like dig into it and
get a little hot and heavy about it.
We get real hot and heavy. I was so fucking back and forth about this season. I didn't know what it was going to be because also, as y'all probably know, I recently started my segment, Ash Goes Down the Rabbit Hole. And a lot of my rabbit holing is based on stuff that I find on YouTube or social media or the internet. And then this Presents season was going to be exclusively about TikTok, but it looks like I'm going to be talking about TikTok a lot on the other thing. So then I was like, okay, we'll do an episode about the 7M dance cult, which, as y'all probably know, a docu-series came out on Wednesday, the 29th on Netflix. And I had already done research, but then when I watched the doc, I was like, oh girl, this is more than one episode. So So this week, we're going to talk about Shekinah Church and its leader, Robert Shinn. Then next week, we're going to talk about 7M and the TikTok dance cult that was born from the Shekinah Church. It's a lot, Fallon. Yeah.
I was just giggling at you calling something rabbit holing because I feel like that's some sort of like weird term that maybe we were talking about getting hot and heavy by rabbit holing this week.
One of my favorite artists, Queen Herbie, has a song where she goes, "You can suck my rabbit hole." And I'm like, what does that mean?
Well, I think you just invented a term for it, rabbit holing.
It's you could take it so many directions, guys.
Get my mind out of the gutter. Anyway.
So I was already planning on covering this TikTok dance cult because I was like, what? And I reached out to somebody on social media who had an account that was like devoted to exposing this cult. And then they are at Stop Culting, and they actually helped with archival research or something on the documentary. So I talked to them as well, and they dished about some behind the scenes stuff and some stuff that's not in the documentary or these episodes. So that'll be the third part of the series. And yeah, we're just gonna
do it.
We're just gonna go for it.
I don't know anything about this, and I'm so ready.
Yay! I mean, yeah, yay! I'm excited to tell you.
I do a lot of dancing, but not on TikTok, and I don't think it's a cult.
Your dance group is not a cult?
No. I mean, they do tell us what to wear and when we have to perform for people, but I think that's pretty common in dancing in general, not cult behavior.
Yeah, I think so. If if your dance instructor is not taking like 80-90% of your income and controlling who you talk to and everything that you do, then you're probably good.
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, cool. I was going to say, get your bingo cards ready because this guy is just, we know you, Robert, okay? We've seen you time and time again, Robert Shinn. You're just like the rest of them. He's a failed fucking movie producer. And one of the squares on Cult Bingo is wannabe rock star, which just refers to any cult leader who wanted to be in the entertainment industry and failed. So you would get that square if that's on your bingo card today.
So, my friends, I'm going to TSFUthepodcast.com and clicking on play with us and bingo. And I'm going to play some cult bingo. So if you're listening, not if you're driving, please. I feel like we should say that. If you listen to podcasts in the car, don't play bingo while driving.
That's something I would do, but don't be like me, you guys. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So Robert Shinn is the leader of Shekinah Church, which is now at the center of this huge media storm because, as we'll talk about in the next episode, Shekinah Church, well, Robert Shinn has, I think, 17 plus companies that he owns. And one of them is 7M, which is a, quote, talent management agency. And this blew my fucking mind. I thought he would get people into the church by managing them, like with dance. But he actually gets people into the church first and then gets them under his control. And then we'll talk about that in the next episode. But it's very interesting. Robert has stolen tens of millions of dollars from his members of his, quote, church that he's had since 1994. And since he started his little 7M dance cult, he's made just a ton more money. He also loves suing people. He's super litigious. The girl that I interviewed, we only went by her social media handle, Stop Culting, because he is trying to sue her and has already brought lawsuits against other creators who have talked about him. But this girl who I spoke to, she moved when he was trying to serve her, so he hasn't been able to find her, which I think is amazing.
That is amazing.
But she stayed anonymous because of that. So like in the Dr. Phil show episode, I just want to throw a big ol' allegedly at the top, blanket statement. He is allegedly a controlling monster, and he's allegedly a cult leader who allegedly has essayed a lot of people, and he's allegedly a terrible person, and I hate him, which I'm allowed to say.
Yeah, you're allowed to hate somebody.
I'm allowed to have opinions and feelings. Okay, listen, you guys, I'm allowed to have feelings and opinions. So yeah, let's talk about the beginning of this church. He is a former doctor turned businessman and pastor. He was told by God one day that he needed to give up being a doctor and move to California. Now, I'm interested if he needed to move to California because that would be where it would be easiest to fulfill the 7 Mountain Mandate, which is a conservative Christian movement that he follows and preaches, because he did move to LA and try to get into show business. But actually, you know what? He founded the church in 94. So I think he founded the church, and then one of the things is getting control over media. So he also becomes like a shitty straight to red box kind of film producer.
That's awesome.
Yeah, his stuff looked really good. He has described the, quote, church as a small and tight-knit group of Christian believers committed to spreading their religious message through peaceful religious study and outreach.
Outreach meaning,
indoctrinating people through TikTok most recently, which has been, to be honest, like incredibly successful. He's a smart businessman for sure.
Yeah.
He found a really solid way to get young, impressionable, vulnerable kids under his fucking control to completely exploit them and make a fuck ton of money off them.
Didn't we kind of talked about that when we talked about the cosmic intelligence as the concept of now how easy it is to recruit people because, online is like such a great new tool.
Oh my God. 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 One of our longtime listeners reached out recently. What's up, friend? They were talking to somebody on Facebook dating for a while and everything was like cool and chill. No red flags. All of a sudden, this person is joining this, I don't know, a group, going to some classes, whatever. It sounds innocent enough. It's never innocent.
No.
Don't go to groups, you guys. Don't listen. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's not safe out there.
It's kind of a red flag for me if somebody is like I don't online date, but if I was talking to someone online and they're like, instead of being like, we should meet and have coffee, they're like, we should meet and go to a non-religious spiritual class together.
Well, the person wasn't trying to like reel them in. The person said, hey, you should text me because I'm going to be getting off Facebook dating. And they didn't really think anything of it. It wasn't like I'm getting off Facebook dating because I'm joining a sketch cult. So our episode goes out. Fucking pat on the back, Fallon. Pat on the back, TSFU, for helping people realize that things are cults. They fucking heard our episode and was like, dude, that's the group
No.
homie joined.
Stop it.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yay.
And they've been like super MIA since they joined that group because obviously they're getting super culted on.
Well, they tell them to stop talking to everyone, stop following, like relinquish like your old relationships and only talk to the cult people.
How bananas is that?
Sharing is caring, people.
Oh, sharing is caring. Fuck. So, like I said, Robert and Shekinah Church follow the teachings of the 7 Mountain Mandate. Although he has denied this many times because it's not a great look, but ex-cult members have said, no, that's his jam. So he's a liar, allegedly. He's allegedly a liar. He claims that M stands for millennium in 7M, but it's like, okay, then what is 7 millennium? Like, just
7,000.
bro, if you're gonna come up with a lie, at least have a good backstory to like for it to make some sort of sense. So the 7 Mountain Mandate, the SMM, I actually don't think I'll have to say it again. No, I will. So I'm gonna call it SMM again when I get there, is a conservative Christian movement that believes in order to bring God's or Christ's, I think that's the same person. It is, right?
Yeah.
Because Jesus and God are the same
Yeah,
person, which I've been studying the Bible for literally over a year. And I didn't know that until I asked the other day because I was getting confused.
We talked to Catherine Spearing, and she was like, set that straight for us. Like, they consider them to be the same person.
I don't
It
remember
is the
that.
son, but also him. We talked to a lot of people.
It's so much information they throw
Yes.
at you, like meaning people and meaning religion and the Bible and stuff. And I think
Well, you haven't gotten to the second half of the Bible yet. So that's why you would likely,
Do you want to hear something amazing?
always.
We are 17 episodes in, and we just started Deuteronomy,
Whoa.
which is, I think, like book 5 or
Wow.
something. It's a 20-year series, so make sure to tune in, guys. It will be going on for the rest of time. So, yeah, Christ, God, in order to bring his second coming, the believers must work to influence the 7 mountains, which are, and this is terrifying, family, government, education, religion, media, business, and entertainment, and the entire world. That last part I threw in, but like, what else is there?
What else is left? Literal mountains are the only thing not mentioned.
So the idea is that by changing all of these mountains, you can change the world as a whole. So if that doesn't sound like some conservative Christian world domination tactics, I don't know what does. I don't know.
There is nothing else.
Former members of Shekinah Church say that this was taught and that Robert and the church have a mountain of cash. It's one of those all kept in the family cults.
Right.
You know how they're really good at doing that? Like when it's, y'all, if a business like LuLaRoe, that's who I always think of. If the whole fucking board and everybody at the top is made out of people with the same last name, that's a red flag.
Yeah. When they're like, I don't know, I was just related to them. I had no business being an executive of anything.
Yeah, really. Like, I think, people who fucking fully, somebody who was interviewed in LuLaRoe or LuLaRich, the documentary, said that they were like, I just married into the family. Like, or if they were a nephew, he was like, I was running like $1 billion enterprise and had no business whatsoever doing so. So yeah, it's here. It's like kept all in the family too. A 2010 deposition by Shinn stated that between 2000 and 2008, the church had 70 members that had donated $4.7 million. So I've never heard of this. This is a super cute breakdown. There's like that traditional 10% tithing fee that a lot of churches do, which is bullshit, He also does a 10% offering fee and a 10% fee to honor the man of God.
Him.
Yeah, he's the man of God.
What? How much was it again?
30% total.
I mean, like, how much money had they donated? I really need to figure out how much each.
$4.7 million.
That's $67,142 per person.
Over 8 years.
Yeah, well, 70 members, you said, and 4.7 million.
But I mean, honestly, there was a lawsuit that went against him in, I think, 2013. I'll get to it, where he had taken millions of dollars from one person. And I believe it's all of his church members who work at all of his fucking 17 businesses. So, no big surprise here, but a lot of fucking like labor trafficking type shit going on. I don't know if people are actually being trafficked, but they're not being compensated for their work. Or if they are, they're getting paid very little, and then 30% of it is going directly back to the church.
Which is pretty common in cults, the whole free work concept.
Oh my God, he's so fucking basic. It's like, you know what, Robert? Like, get a new fucking story, because we've all heard this one a bajillion times and it's old. Like, you stupid fuck. So not only did the members donate that amount to the church, but it was alleged that they donated to Robert himself. You guys, I highly recommend the documentary, by the way. It gave a lot of extra insight. None of the church members had really been used to having money, so giving it away didn't really seem like a big deal to them, and they thought that he deserved it because he's the man of God, like prosperity gospel, essentially, right? Man, we need to update bingo because there's definitely things that I've learned, terms and phrases. Yeah, prosperity gospel. I mean, fuck, God, he's annoying. And like I said, he calls himself the man of God. Again, real original. And he did the super common thing of preying on individuals who were in a vulnerable position. So we're going to meet these two sisters, the Lee sisters, and Melanie Lee talks about how it's really common for Korean immigrants who move to the United States to join a church because not only do they get that sense of community that people get from church naturally, but it's where you go to eat traditionally made Korean food, and it's somewhere that you can not only get community, but get community with people who share the same traditions and values as you and want to eat the fucking same food and stuff.
Can I clarify? I don't think we mentioned this.
Yeah.
Is his church Korean, like primarily Korean? Or if they joined a church where they could find community and they just happen to be Korean? Sorry, I thought maybe I missed something.
Hold on. No. Well, now I wouldn't say that I'm going to have to double check really quick to see what the congregation was like historically. But ever since he opened it up to like all these TikTok dancers, it's a lot of black and white people in the congregation.
So it's not like one particular nationality of people just like involved in the cult.
No, but I feel like when he started the church, it was kind of primarily for Korean immigrants. But you know what? I'm going to say that's allegedly because I feel like I read that somewhere. Let me try to find that really quick. Yeah, so Shin did start Shekinah as a religious community for Korean Americans. So I would assume that that is the people who made up a lot of the congregation historically, but then he figured out this whole TikTok dance cult. Although he does keep his church congregation and his 7M entertainment congregation separate because he doesn't want them sharing stories because he's like a little bit more covert with the 7M.
Yeah.
They're kids. They're in their early 20s. They're huge fucking social media stars, you know, so he's definitely indoctrinating all of them through the Bible and bringing them in through the Shekinah church. But he's definitely, it's not one big congregation that's mingling old members and new, you know?
That makes sense. Well, it's another one of those information control things. Like if we keep everyone separate or if we keep everyone working or if we don't let them talk, then they can't start talking about how shitty this all is.
Right. Which is why, you know, it started off as doesn't it always? Started off as an innocuous church, you know, seemed like a kind community and whatnot. But, you know, slowly over to the time, weirdly, it gets like controlling. All of a sudden, people are assigned housing. And all of a sudden, you know, family members that had joined together, oh, weird, they're not staying in the same place anymore. Is your bingo board lit the fuck up like a Christmas tree? Because it's just everything.
I'm getting there. I'm guessing he probably starts saying like, well, you don't need anybody but your church family.
Oh, okay. Dude, we're going to get really more into that in the next episode. But like fucking separating, okay, it's a concept that he talks about called dying for yourself or dying to yourself. Die to yourself, die to yourself, die to your family. It's that you like have to kill the old you and your old relationships to become this like better, awesome person who's going to go to heaven, and like the whole fucking, and all your loved ones are going to go to hell if you don't do the work to save them. So it's like, it's all on you, Fallon, because like not you and everybody you know is going to go to hell if you don't fucking work for their sins.
And that's actually like, he might have like taken it to 11, but that's a pretty common, from what I remember, Christian concept too, with dying to yourself, meaning like putting God first and forgetting about your personal needs so you can follow God.
Is that a
Not probably as extreme, not like your whole family's going to hell if you don't listen to me, typically like that. I don't think it's like that level, but yeah, it's definitely, he's pulling it straight from the Christian cult books, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would make sense. That's like, that is the religion that he preaches. Also, he preaches from his home. And I just think like you shouldn't go to church in people's houses. I don't think that makes it legitimate. It sounds like they did have like an actual space at one point, but I don't know. It's weird. It's you'll actually hear more about that in the interview, which is going to be the third episode of this series. Stop Culting definitely knew some stuff that I hadn't found online.
It's interesting. And I just wanted to clarify, I'm not saying there's a parallel with Christianity because I think Christianity is a cult. I'm just saying that like in the cults we've talked about based on that somebody says are like loosely based on Christian values, that's like something you hear all the time is like put your own needs away so you can achieve like these higher needs or you can achieve more things.
Yeah.
So
And one of your needs being like contact with your family.
who needs that?
That's a no. One girl was told that she was sucking on her mama's titties because she wanted to see her family. Because Robert has this kind of hierarchy. He makes it so that it's basically impossible to talk to him. Church members have to talk to their spiritual mentor who they're assigned upon coming into the church. And none of your thoughts are your own. They're all from either the God or the devil. So any thought you have, you better run that up the ladder to your spiritual mentor to make sure you're not having thoughts from the devil. And he's super fucking big on preaching about hell and how it's scary and terrible it is and how it's like just an everlasting abyss of torture and pain, and that any pain that you cause to anybody on earth is just going to be done to you over and over. And she describes one of the survivors who will talk about how he would say that some people their flesh would burn and they would have maggots coming out of it and it would heal and then it would just happen all over again. Like he makes hell a very real and terrifying visceral place. Yeah.
But like any of this that he's doing that's harming people does not increase his likelihood of hell.
He's the man of God.
Oh,
he can,
my bad.
You know what? He can do whatever he wants.
Silly me.
You know. Yeah, don't be ridiculous, Fallon. Church members are taught that the more they give, the more they receive. It sounds like pretty classic fucking, manipulation tactic. It's like, Fallon, if you give me $100, I'll make 100 of your wishes come true because I'm the voice of God.
But I also happen to know that all 100 of your wishes were intangible things that I'm going to make you think you feel.
And they were all super sinful. So just no, you're a terrible person. You're going to hell.
I'm going to keep that $100 though. That's mine.
Yeah. Except for him, it's like hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the Seven Mountain Mandate movement was supportive of Trump's presidency, and one of the movement's members, Paula White, even became Trump's spiritual advisor.
Adorable.
White claimed that Trump, quote, will play a critical role in Armageddon as the U.S. stands alongside Israel in the battle against Islam.
It's a lot to unpack there.
I took a big deep breath in because I was like, I'm not going to say anything else about that because it's way too much to unpack. But yeah, that's a lot.
We try to stay away from the political here, and there's so much
in that we're just gonna.
I feel like we just
along.
found like a little bomb and we pushed it away with a stick and just kept walking.
Yeah, we're like, that's a whole other fucking, I was gonna say episode.
That could be on someone else's podcast. We'll leave it a little note that says, give him a good home. Sorry we couldn't take care of it.
Y'all are probably pretty aware of our thoughts. Anywho, in 2020, Charlie Kirk, a right-wing political activist and radio host, said, quote, finally we have a president that understands the 7 mountains of cultural influence. So, I'm just gonna say, as usual, it goes all the way to the top, motherfuckers.
Can we please put that tile on the bingo board? All of the bingo boards.
We need to update merch and bingo and our website in general.
I know we talked about new t-shirt designs, but could we have one that says like I rabbit holed with Ashley and all I got was this Lassie t-shirt?
Oh, I would love that. Oh my gosh. Y'all hit us up if you make t-shirts. Rolling Stone reported in March of 2023 that an ex-member of the church was suing Robert and 7M. The member alleges that, quote, that Shinn, quote, deployed deputies called mentors and sub-mentors to exert control over their fellow church members. These deputies did his bidding, including collecting tithes from other members, moving money from members' bank accounts, instructing members where to live, and instructing members on how to spend every waking moment of their time. Okay, sorry. I think the author of the article wrote that, and we have that article in our show notes.
So I don't know if this is going to get covered somewhere else, but were people living like together as a member, or is this just like a church community they were part of and they were just like there all the time?
No. So it started off as like church members living in a complex in separate houses. And then all of a sudden people are getting shacked up. And it is thought that there may be arranged marriages going on, but that's very alleged at this point. And I will get into that later when I talk about how crumping, you know, the dance style was, it is very connected to the Shekinah church.
This is wild.
It's wild, dude. So it's alleged that Shinn controlled members' healthcare, even saying that he sent people to a COVID vaccine clinic where another Shekinah member just injected the vaccine down people's arms or gave them something else. I don't know, but basically did not actually give them the COVID vaccine, which would check out because a lot of hard right conspiracy theorists were like, that will kill you and all the birds in a 50-mile radius. Accusations against Shinn and the church date back as far as 2009, when a former member named Lydia Chung attempted and failed to sue Shinn and the church. She claimed they engaged in activities like mind control, overexerting influence, and coercive persuasion and other intimidation tactics. She stated that she had been one of Shinn's early church members and felt like she was being held captive against her will. She said that he took over parts of her life, including email accounts and passwords, her bank accounts, which he would use to funnel money for his family's entertainment, living expenses, tuition, and medical bills. And in total, Lydia ended up giving the church $3.8 million made up of money and property.
What?
She also says that he forced her to make decisions that she would not have normally made, and she was forced to work 6 days a week with no pay. But ultimately, the judge ruled that Lydia acted on her own free will. She was an adult.
That's the thing that kills me about cult conviction.
And this is fucking annoying. The judge did add that Shinn's behavior was, quote, outside the norm and bordered on coercion.
Bordered on coercion?
But apparently cults are really hard to prosecute unless you have a ton of victims who come forward with sexual assault allegations. And even then it's still really hard because it's, like their word against theirs, which is, are you fucking kidding me? Or often they have to prove like financial crimes.
Yeah, I listened to an interview with a lawyer one time who specializes in prosecuting cults and cult leaders. And she was saying that the main way to go after them is usually proving a trafficking charge, because it doesn't have to be sexual to be trafficking. It can be literally like the leader convinced or told somebody, you have to come from, Iowa to Nebraska to work on my farm. And then that would constitute like trafficking or for some purpose. And that's what they get them on, because it's like impossible to nail someone for coercion or whatever.
Which, like, come on. It's 2024. Can the judicial system catch up with?
We know there are cults.
Like, like the fucking DSM or something. I don't know. It's like, I don't know. Probably not the DSM is not the correct thing, but like there's much more of an understanding now of coercion, and
the whole world watched on the news as they discovered Jonestown in 1978, right? So it's not a myth that cults are a thing.
yeah, the system still has a really hard time not blaming victims for being adults who made their own decisions to join a group and do what they did. It's like, it's so not that fucking black and white at all. Robert doesn't keep a strong online presence. When he is photographed, it's usually around LA, getting in and out of his expensive cars. He allegedly lives in the 7M house where his son Isaiah films and produces the videos. His wife Hannah is the CFO. Okay, so Shekinah Church is like a fucking, it's not just one church. There's a bunch of churches called like Shekinah Christian Church and shit, you know? So
Got it.
it's not super fucking obvious, but his quote church is like behind a gated fence that says closed to the public. You have to be invited to church services. You can't just go. And maybe he has multiple properties. I don't really know, but it's not, as far as I know, like in a legit church. It's like in a house. So he either lives in a house where he holds his church services, and he lives with the TikTok 7M dancers, which is fucking weird. His wife, Hannah, is the CFO and also serves as the manager of the TikTok dancers in 7M.
I'm sure she's very qualified at that, allegedly.
And she's allegedly a super nice person. The registered secretary of Shekinah Church, Daniel Joseph, is also a director for 7M videos. They're not at all connected, allegedly. You don't have to be a part of Shekinah Church to be represented by 7M. And if you're in 7M, you have no requirement, allegedly, to be a part of Shekinah Church.
Of course not.
They're not connected. They're just like all the same thing. Don't be stupid, Fallon.
I was like, how was I stupid? I didn't even say anything.
No, it's just like such a shit show. So Daniel, the director of the 7M videos and the secretary of Shekinah Church, is married to Shinn's daughter, Chloe, who picks the music for the videos. But Chloe and Daniel pieced out not too long ago, which stirred up a lot with the whole 7M TikTok dancers community. But you know, when a kid leaves, you're like, something's not right. Because a lot of times children of cult leaders have a hard time leaving. They often stay in the cult. The Westboro Baptist fucking church is a family cult. The entire congregation is made up of the family.
Yeah, it's only like a last news broadcast I watched about them. I try to ignore them because they're awful, but it's like a tiny little room full of people. So like the sum total of people is everybody in their immediate and extended family. It's not like there are all these people lining up to join.
Which is wild too, because like literally except for the, 20 of them or whatever, we're all going to hell. That's
It's gonna
like
be lonely.
y'all are going to get pretty bored, I feel like. All right,
Well, a lot of times for kids of cult leaders, look how many of them are poised to become either the next person in charge from like basically the time they're born, or they leave and they start their own church. Like some groups we're going to talk about soon, they are like, ooh, that cult leader life is pretty nice.
Yep.
So let me get some of that action.
I like that. Right. And then, you do often see like one fucking black sheep who's like, you know what?
They're weird. I'm out of here.
No, this is
Yeah.
fucked. But it generally is that there's less black sheep than people who are born into a family with a parent who's a cult leader who go along with it. A total of 7 complaints, which I find is interesting because, 7 mountains, are listed on a lawsuit that accuses Shinn of operating a cult and recruiting new cult members members through his entertainment business, which I would almost say it's the other way around, because the dancers he would bring in through the church and then have them start dancing, which seems really backwards. But anyways, the complaint states, quote, Shekinah is a cult operating under the guise of a religious institution. Robert refers to himself as the man of God and preaches to Shekinah members that without submitting to him and without Shekinah, their lives will be cursed. Robert required full physical and economic control over Shekinah members. They claim that he takes advantage of his followers through the church and through the other companies that he owns and operates. The complaint also states that Shinn's life of luxury is due to the tithes he collects from church members and the 10% that's the collecting fee. What the fuck
It's like
is
your
that?
MasterCard processing fee. Like,
Yeah, what?
holding my hand out was super taxing. That's going to be another 10%.
10%. And then an honoring the man of God. Yeah, 10
So
more percent.
basically an fee, it's hard to collect fees fee, and an I'm the shit fee.
Yeah.
Sounds
Totally.
legit.
It's alleged that the majority of his wealth was built on the backs of the free labor and excessive fees from Shekinah members, which sounds pretty accurate. Okay, now we're going to talk about two sisters that were involved with Shekinah. And when you hear 7M and Shekinah Church, most people think about the Wilkins sisters, who we're going to talk about next week. They're super famous because they were already like a famous dance duo on social media. They're like super cute sisters who are amazing dancers. And then one of the sisters, Miranda, joins the cult, and it becomes this huge public thing because after a while her sister and her parents go public and say something like, hey, she stopped talking to us, blah blah blah. It's this whole big like well-known internet drama. But before we get into that, I want to talk about what other members had been experiencing for decades before any of this even started happening. So we're going to talk about Melanie and Priscilla Lee. Melanie and Priscilla were, I don't know if they were born in the United States, but their parents were Korean immigrants. And like I said, she says that Korean immigrants often go to churches for community. When she started going, she was really young. Their dad had pieced out, and their mom was an alcoholic and gambling addict who was just super neglectful. They said that she would disappear for like a month at a time without saying anything, and leaving them to fend for themselves. So Melanie started going to this church, and it was small. It was about 15 people. It was, don't join somebody's family's cult, y'all. It was Robert's family and his sister Catherine's family primarily. And so she starts attending a lot, and he really takes her in. And then her sister Priscilla came soon after. Melanie had a terrible rash for a long time that was super visible. People in the congregation were praying for her and shit. And they go and do this big baptism in the ocean. And she had also been putting rubbing alcohol on her skin for the rash, which I don't know if that it doesn't sound good, but either just the salt water or the combo of rubbing alcohol and salt water, I'm guessing cleared up her rash, because it cleared up 2 days later.
It was a miracle.
It was a miracle because she got baptized by Robert Shinn in the ocean, and then her rash miraculously healed. But I did a quick Google, and salt particles are absorbed by the skin, and antibacterial properties cleanse the skin by removing the oil and bacteria that might cause irritation of the skin, and therefore anti-inflammatory properties found in salt help provide much needed relief to dry, itchy, and scaly skin. Boom.
If you have a sore throat, or if you have sores or something in your mouth, they tell you to gargle or swish around salt water, because it does that stuff.
That's true.
It's
That's
not
also true.
miraculous. It's pretty well known.
This is science, you guys.
And the ocean is not like table salt and water. The ocean, if you're not aware, I was in the Navy, and the ocean has a lot of salt in it. expertise.
Guess what? I know what's up. Okay, but this is kind of rough because Melanie and Priscilla joined in 1999 and the internet was like a baby at the time. So it's not like you could just Google that real quick like I could just now. You know, that was 25 years ago.
That's true.
Maybe you had to go find an encyclopedia and shit. And like, it's understandable how people are like, holy fuck, yeah, that's got to be a miracle, you know? Oh, what? It's just a coincidence that 2 days after the man of God himself baptized me that my rash went away? Don't be fucking ridiculous, you guys. It's obviously a miracle.
Obviously.
But it, you know, it makes sense. I think one thing to like remind everybody and make super clear for anybody who's maybe just finding this episode because of the topic or who's newer to the podcast, people who are in cults are absolutely fucking victims. The only perpetrators in cults are the ones who are leading and pretty much just the fucking cult leader, because often the people in positions of power are getting the most severely abused. But then there is that whole thing that, you know, where does the victim and perpetrator line blur? So, but, you know, point being is that none of these people are like fucking stupid or anything for believing this stuff. Like, we're saying it jokingly, but like it does make sense that if you are deep in this religion and this belief that you would be like, yeah, obviously it's a fucking miracle.
Right. A lot of people joining cults are intelligent people who are logically looking for specific connections. And if you've been walking around looking for something that might help your sore skin and nothing else has, and then the first time you do this thing, it cures, well, then you're going to go, well, it must have been, 'cause nothing else worked.
Exactly. And he would use this example of like, oh, look, everybody, I fucking cured Melanie.
Right.
I'm magic. And so people really looked to that example as like, holy shit, this guy he really must be the fucking man of God, like he says. So one day during a church service, about half a dozen women storm in and are all yelling that Robert had sexually assaulted them. And I don't know exactly how it went down, but essentially during that service or the next, he really just, you know, he humbles himself to the congregation and he says, you know, it's funny because like I thought he was the man of God. In this case, like he's just a man who deals with temptation and seduction of evil whores like any other man. And he humbly asks for their forgiveness. And they're like, holy shit, he is so fucking humble, dude. And so a good amount of the congregation stayed, and there was, I guess, a good chunk of women who did leave too with his sister Catherine, because she had been down for like controlling every aspect of members' lives. But when she heard that he was like allegedly serially sexually assaulting women, she was like, don't love that, which I gotta respect. You know, I can see that you can get caught up in the fucking game of control and power and money, but I gotta say, like, kudos to say, oh, you're going around raping people? No, I'm not gonna co-sign that shit. But you know, yeah, he was able to kind of like spin it as like, dude, hey, I'm just a guy being a dude, you know? It's tough out here in these streets when all these hoes be seducing.
Oh God. I have to keep reminding myself that as a podcaster, people can't see me rolling my eyes. I wish there was a better sound for it than just ugh or ugh.
Eye roll. Yeah.
I'm going to interject eye roll.
So Robert tells Melanie that he's done so much for her and now she needs to pay the price. So he wants her to be his mistress. He said that just like King David in the Bible, he was also allowed to have mistresses. And it sounds like, allegedly, with many women, it starts off with massages. Anybody watch fucking Quiet on Set and hear about Dan Schneider's massages? Look, men in power should not be asking for massages unless it is from a masseuse that is being paid in a professional setting and they keep their fucking dick in their pants. Then it's cool. Otherwise, no.
Yes. To be clear, dick in pants, okay. Dick out of pants,
not okay. Right. And he would, I feel ridiculous saying this. He would eventually be like, okay, can you like massage my penis? Allegedly.
I couldn't even say that with a straight face.
No, I know. It's like, you mean give you a fucking hand job, you idiot? He's probably like, well, it's a muscle like any else, you know? I hold a lot of tension in my dick. What can I say?
Sounds like something in one of those ridiculous movies with like Vince Vaughn or Will Ferrell or, you know, like the early 2000s.
It's old school. Yeah, then I asked her to massage my penis and she got all weird about it.
I mean, but I'm guessing this is probably a situation where he's like, you're going to be massaging me and nobody else but me.
Well, you would think. One day, Robert calls her out of the blue and says, I want you to sleep with another member. And she said, how long do I have to think about it? And he said, how long do you want? She said, 10 days. And he said, okay, you have 3. And lucky for Melanie, she had kept one fucking friend who wasn't in church. Maybe, I don't know how she knew him from school or work or something, but he wasn't in Shekinah. He said that he went to one meeting with her and he was like, you know what? This looks good for you. Not my jam.
Love that for you.
Yeah, it's not my journey at this point. So she calls him and is like, you need to get me the fuck out of here. So he shows up with a van and a baseball bat for her to make her get away.
Wow.
As they're packing the van, a member comes back to the house and blocks the fucking van with their car. And
oh my God.
it sounds so fucking scary. Her friend was like, I was ready to use that bat, but essentially the car moved out of the way and just let them go.
Wow.
So she calls Priscilla and she's like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. I'm picking you up. And Priscilla said, I'm not going. I'm staying here. And Priscilla says that she stayed because she was so afraid of going to hell because he had made it so visceral and terrifying. So naturally, he starts abusing Priscilla and tells her that since her sister Melanie did what she did, she was now cursed. And if Priscilla didn't do everything that he said, they would both go to hell. No pressure at all.
Do we know how old they are at this point? Are they like in the just general, are they like teenagers or are they in like their 20s, 30s?
I feel like they're probably in their like early 20s.
So they're adults, but they're like younger.
They're very young adults. Yeah. They're very young adults who had no love or who just, I don't want to say that, but who did not receive proper care from their parents.
And when you're looking for like care and affection and you're in your early 20s and you haven't had a couple go rounds with weird people, it is so easy to get quickly seduced by any person that's like, I'm going to take care of you. I'll do 1 or 2 nice things for you. Look at me. Aren't I humble and helpful? And then
it's one day, hey, guess what? There was a bill that you have to pay that I didn't tell you about. And it's that you have to
sex with this person over here.
Yeah, essentially. Allegedly. He starts abusing Priscilla and she said, quote, I just need to not kill myself. And until the day I die, do my best so I can ensure the safety of me and my family's souls.
Honey.
Can you imagine in your 20s being like, well, I just have to like get through the rest of life doing my best at everything that I possibly can while not killing myself because that's what I really want to do so that me and my family don't go to fucking hell and deal with an eternal abyss of torment.
Wow.
Okay, and then this. Oh no. Oh God. This like hit me. Woof.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Woo, big old moment of vulnerability coming. Okay, so my sexual assault trauma has showed up very much physically. I actually did a lot of repressing of what happened, and my panic attacks that started happening anytime a human that I was interested in becoming intimate with me tried to touch me.
Wow.
Kind of started signaling, hey, maybe this thing in that situation, maybe that wasn't actually that cool. So this is like really fucking rough. She says that she started becoming really physically ill, like acid reflux, stomach issues, which is actually how like my trauma and panic manifest often in my stomach. So it's like I feel so much for her because she's also living in a home with her abuser, and she started getting physically ill. And he said that spending time with him was purifying her and getting the evil out of her body. That's why she was
so
sick.
many of those concepts right there show up from the cults we've talked about, even into like MLM stuff. And it's weird. You know, we've talked to all of these survivors of religious trauma who have said it's left lasting impacts on them. You know, they have diseases, they have issues with their bodies that have never gone away simply from this incredible trauma they've dealt with. And it's just funny because then you look over at the like kind of partner industry over here, the MLMs that we've talked about. And one of the big things they say when their products wreck your body is it's cleansing you. That's like a huge claim of all these products.
Oh my
like when
God.
it makes your hair fall out, it's because it's cleansing your scalp. Or when it like makes you sick, it's because it's cleansing your body.
You're getting rid of the toxins.
Right. And so it's this concept of like somehow we're giving you something that nobody else can. That's, even though it's a product, it's like it's exercising.
You know, toxins, demons, whatever. We're helping you get rid of
It's just
something.
funny how repetitive it is. Like
It's the same fucking tactics wrapped up in a new little bow.
in every single cult offshoot I can think of.
every goddamn
Oh
time.
my God, it makes me so mad.
Every Robert fucking time. Oh God, Robert. So he says that because she's sick, it's obviously because he's purifying her, which means he needs to spend more time with her. So she says for 10 fucking years, this was going on. Her being sick and just thinking, wow, I must have like a lot of fucking evil to get out of my body. She said that she stayed in a room where she just plastered scripture all over the walls and would close the curtains and keep the room dark and would just stay in there because she was like so fucking depressed and fucked up that, you know, it often leaves you like room bound, house bound, bed bound. So he would just kind of come in whenever he wanted and do whatever he wanted. And one day, his wife, aka the woman of God, Hannah Shinn, comes in and starts verbally attacking her and physically beating her, saying, "This is all mine, blah, blah, blah." Basically, I'm sure she knew that Robert was abusing Priscilla, but she was blaming it on Priscilla, you know, because she came in and was going on a tirade about how everything in the house was hers. So I'm assuming she meant Robert, you know, and Robert just stood there like watching and said, Hannah's allowed to say all of this. She's the woman of God. And she said that it was at that point that she decided that she'd rather go to hell than stay there. And it took her months to contact her sister Melanie after she left. I'm not sure exactly how long Melanie was in, but Priscilla was in for 23 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah. You know, you see a lot of interviews with her in the documentary, and she's obviously just still carries a lot of the trauma that she experienced. You see footage of her and Melanie at like lunch together, and Priscilla tells Melanie that she expects too much of her because Melanie's like, well, you said that you were going to come to my daughter, your niece's birthday party early to help me set up. And then you came late and you didn't even say anything. And Priscilla was like, yeah. And she was like, well, everybody else who came late came and said like, hey, sorry, I'm late. And Priscilla starts crying and she's like, I don't have the same thought processes as you. Like, I don't have the ability to be like your other friends. Like, you want me to be like a normal person. And I'm just fucking struggling with like, can I even show up at this birthday party? Because I want to die.
Right. I mean, and I can't imagine the amount of time it takes you to get over 23 years of like constant hammered in trauma.
You know, I don't know about a lot about reproduction or whatever, but she said that like she's like looking at Melanie and she's like, you want me to know what it's like to care for a child, but like I don't understand that. And she talks about how she regrets the fact that she's not able or wasn't able to have kids of her her own. And, she's struggled a lot with the will to live. But she goes to Seoul, South Korea, and confronts her father. Dude, she was like a hard ass. And I was like, damn, I wish I could be that tough. She told her dad, she was like, I hope that you're ashamed deeply in your soul, because I'm not going to call you my father. I think you have to raise someone for them to call that relationship. And she said that she felt like she needed to like confront him for her healing journey, because she says, if both you and our mother hadn't had abandoned us, we wouldn't have ended up in that situation.
And I have to imagine like something in her, I don't know if she mentioned this, but something in her would probably be like, I spent 23 years in this thinking I was doing all of this for you guys. And now I have to come out and deal with the fact that you're harping on me about not showing up at a birthday party to set up decorations.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry. I was saving your fucking soul for a couple decades.
I'm sure you can get the streamers up yourself, right?
Exactly. It's so obvious, like the struggles that they're having connecting, It
makes my chest hurt. This is making my like physically like hurt for them.
And we got more next week. More families being broken apart. Oh, good stuff. But add dancing and social media.
But add dancing.
Yeah, just to really get things going. So Priscilla had not gone to authorities in the past because what's the fucking point, essentially, is what she says. And for all of the reasons that fucking SA victims don't come forward. Do I need to list them? I feel like we're all pretty familiar. It's like, well, okay, you're going to go into a room and whoever's available is going to say, all right, tell me what happened to you. Okay, well, we'll see if we can follow up on that. But it's a he said, she said that, it's like she just didn't want to deal with that.
Well, and honestly, not the majority of our super awesome listeners that we talk to, but that someone in some comments, even if you do list them, is going to be like, that's not actually true. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, people are
self-perpetuating reasons why people don't come forward.
But the Wilkins family, who have been so public about trying to get their daughter/sister Miranda back, when they went to the police, they're kind of trying to give them ways to get to Robert. And they're like, you can't get him on controlling them. They're adults. Like that's not going to stand. So one of the avenues that they're suggesting is to get a lot of sexual assault survivors to come forward, because the Wilkins family and members of 7M who left and Priscilla and Melanie Lee all connected. And Melanie and Priscilla told the Wilkins and the 7M dancers about their experience. So the Wilkins were like, okay, well then this is probably happening to a lot of people, which it is alleged that Robert sets up a lot of secret meetings with ladies. So in July of 2023, Priscilla finally went to authorities to tell her story, because she felt that she wanted to help the case and help bring Robert to justice. And we'll find out next week if he's been BTJ, brought to justice. I don't know, I just made it up.
And I was like, yeah, like I know what that means. So I didn't click on all the squares because I didn't want my bingo to splatter. But the only thing I didn't get was yoga, Jesus is an alien, no sex.
Oh my God.
And sex only with leader. Those are the only 4 things that I didn't get.
Out of 24. Yeah, it's 24 spaces. Yeah. The free tile makes it 25. So you got 20 out of 24.
Correct.
I'm going to say bingo, this is a cult.
Yeah, I would have had bingo every single way except down through the center and the second row.
You fucked that bitch up, down, and sideways to prove it was a cult.
Every other tile. And usually I have to like really like loosely interpret some of them. Like, one time they went out to a mall, so that's public outreach, but like everyone on here was like just like an easy check, which is wild,
dude. And yeah, I mean, it was gonna be kind of like one episode 7M dance cult, but I was like, this goes so much further and deeper though than the recent TikTok controversy.
And I'll be honest, when you were like a dance cult, I was like, okay, they're like a bunch of weirdos who I was not ready for this tonight.
This is not what you were expecting?
No.
Oh, wait till next week where we talk about the creator of Crumping and the fact that he's like super religious the connections are going to be nothing you expect. So just keep your mind open for it to be blown.
Wow.
I got more next week that you're just going to be like, what the fucking
I'm
at?
guessing not like the video I've seen where it's like the guy doing the Bible slide instead of the cha-cha slide, like sin to the left.
Oh my
Like-
gosh. I haven't seen that one, but I fucking love when they make hip songs religious. It's really fun. I like it a lot. Well, that's that, my cats
That was
in the hats.
real as fuck.
And real fucked up. Yeah. So make sure to join us next week for another episode of That's So Fucked Up Presents, where we will talk about the 7M entertainment company that is running the 7M TikTok dance cult and the Wilkins sisters, and how essentially another story of sisters getting pulled apart, interestingly. Weirdly.
Weird how they separate families. I didn't know they did that.
Yeah, it's like they do it a lot, it seems like. Except for when those families go public and start saying, hey, we haven't talked to our family member in a super long time. And then Robert's like, okay, actually go see them and film it all and put it on social media to make sure everybody knows that we're not actually separating you from your family. But that's for next week. So thanks for being here, guys. We'll see you on Friday for a regular episode of TSFU. And in the meantime, keep it real, friends.
Dance like no one's watching, but not in a cult.
And not on TikTok. Just like do it for you, but also do it every day for the people. That's a reference to Davis Clark. Go Davis Clark. Look him up. I can't get into it. Bye guys.
That's so fucked up, that's so fucked up. So fucked up, that's so fucked up.